All right, following up on the lesson from yesterday, this was the first post and then the changes on the left side. So let's take a look. Clear and obvious posture changes, adding much knee flex and a ton more bend from the waist. I would say that this angle wasn't so bad, it was more that you didn't have much knee flex at all. So keep what you're doing with the lower body and then maybe alleviate some of that awkward feeling by getting that spine to allow to stand back up. But other than that, looks great, as your wrist angles have also changed for the better. That I'm sure feels rather awkward as well, but a lot better than the bow down position, which is likely to rotate your face open. So let's get just a couple more lines and then we're going to snap position by position between these two swings and see what changes. Throwing one last line in there just as a guide for the tight blue path. We lost a frame on the left side, no big deal. Alright, so sync them together. P1, mostly just setup changes in the posture. Position 2, club is more square on the left side than the blurry image on the right. It is also less to the inside, as your wrist angles, not being bowed down, allow that shaft to stay in an excellent position through your P3. Your P3 over here is very flat and laid off to the top, which can lead to that sort of looping transition. Not to say that you do loop it up at the top, but your other comment was that you felt like that left wrist getting cupped at the top is still a rather frustrating move. And yeah, you've taken tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of swings with a slightly cupped wrist. So when it comes time to work on that, try to independently just work on that wrist angle, because that's not something you just add in while working on other things in your swing. So keep it short, work on a wedge, work on your wrist in your own time, separate to these posture and early extension changes. So here's my favorite change of this comparison before we get to the face-on view, is that more upright wrist angle and top position is going to lead to a downswing plane on the new swing that is much more down the line, which is going to also benefit from a steeper angle of attack for the wedges. Your hips still do extend in a little bit off the line, but your posture and your head didn't really jump up too much, so you might save contact. On the old swing, with the little laid off wrist and bowed down position, it was more of a slinger type of shot from the inside out, needing to turn that face over a lot more consistently through strike. You do time it up and get to a good drawing position. However, the left side position with your more upright and downward strike will be better for ball striking. More work on the hips and information on the hip pivot coming now from the face-on view. So jump over to here and taking a look at this. It's about hip position and hip tilt, because if I get a line on your lead hip, I'd also like to see that right hand grip maybe sneak behind a bit more. You've got that crease between your thumb and the palm of your hand pointed almost at your front shoulder. So watch out for that, and that club face can just really be more favored to the open side when that's the case. P1 to P2. Alright, you didn't really rotate those forearms open as you did previously, so I like that. But a little bit of hip sway and a right hip that is slightly higher than your left gives the appearance of a reverse pivoted top position. And that does disrupt the kinetic chain when you get too long at the top. Again, jargon, but what you need to feel like you're doing is keeping your left hip higher than your right, keeping more tilt behind the ball, and then you can transfer your weight and turn properly. It's going to feel as awkward as those setup changes, but I don't think you need to go into a lot of difference from your setup with those angles, because you do naturally tilt the right hand. Gripping lower than the left hand is going to give shoulder tilt, which should give some hip tilt, but you need to maintain those angles and not deviate from them. Now, I've seen worse hip pivots. You don't sway off the ball a ton, but a little bit of that misdirection can, again, disrupt the sequence as you slide forward and then stand up. We've got to get those shoulders and hips tilting a lot more. So, again, an interesting kind of thought to think about, but if you can just hit some short wedges with, here's your two separate thoughts. Work on your posture and swing path based on the first part of this video. Now for the second part, you can work on your left wrist angle, keeping it flat, short backswing, and keeping your left side higher than your right side. Just do whatever you can to hit some shots where your left hip is bumped forward higher than the right, and then keep it driving forward this way. That kind of tilt behind the ball should help you maintain your angles and then also be beneficial as you start working up the longer clubs. But I digress on that interesting little drill. Give it a try. Good luck.